Good afternoon, everybody. The stream of people coming in through the doors is slowly steadying, so we'll make a start. I'm Duncan Oliphant. I'm Head of Commercial Flexibility at Northern Power Grid. I'd like to start, as everybody has, by thanking National Energy Action for convening this conference on such an important topic at a really critical time. At Northern Power Grid, we're proud to power everyday life for millions of customers in our region. And as the network operator, our role is central to allowing those customers to uptake low-carbon technologies in our region. Strong future power networks are the enabler for decarbonisation, unlocking cleaner and more affordable power for customers and communities, and providing real opportunities to face the burdens of fuel poverty that households have. We're determined that the most vulnerable customers move forward at the same pace as everybody else, so that the transition is just and nobody is left behind. And that is why we're here today, because fast is not enough. The transition must be fast and it must be fair. I don't have the slides that I expected to have, so I'll crack on. For those that don't know who Northern Power Grid are, we are the electricity distribution network operator for Yorkshire and the North East. We deliver, maintain and operate the network that every customer must connect to. To many households in our region, they face persistent pressures in terms of affordability of energy, rising costs and cold homes. And those pressures and those issues can't be solved by one organisation alone. It's going to take a real joined-up effort, which is why we are keen to be part of this conversation, lead it and convene it. For our part, the grid is the backbone of change. When we effectively plan and develop our network, there's no barriers for customers to uptake LCTs, get connected and benefit from them. This pace of change only matters if it effectively opens the doors for the most vulnerable. It can't just be the two-house driveways in suburban areas. It's got to be open to everybody to create those pathways. In this space, we don't simply meet the minimum standard. We set a higher one. When we've benchmarked our vulnerability performance against other DNOs, we consistently lead the field. We delivered our 5-year targets in this space within 18 months. And this outcome isn't based on luck, it's based on a deliberate framework, evidence-based approach that we call the whole person model. This approach starts with the most important principle of meeting people where they're at. If they have been disconnected due to not meeting their energy bills, they're not looking forward to the potential savings that LCTs and installation can provide them in the future. So we begin with the immediate needs: safety, reconnection, warmth and food on the table. Once that stability has been established, we then look for longer term support like access to benefits, debt advice and financial guidance. And then only when that test has been passed, we move them on at their own pace into thinking about future installation, low carbon technologies and further support that can provide them. Crucially, our door is always open and the pace of change is driven by the customer. None of this works without trust. And many organisations in this room work for us and with us to deliver these services. And their knowledge and the relationships with the local communities, it was what drives that trust and why customers rate our services so highly. So this collaborative approach using your organisations is absolutely key. Many of you might be wondering, you might have plucked my job title and wondering why the Head of Commercial Flexibility is talking on this subject rather than our vulnerability team or our customer services director. And that's because we have a great vulnerability and fuel poverty support programme at Northern Power Grid, but that thinking expands across our entire business and we make sure that it's a priority in all areas. We're joined up and we're driving this change through all areas. So this brings me to allow me to talk about a project that's really close to my heart, where in collaboration with E.ON Next, we've delivered a project that we call EmpowerFlex that gets free batteries and installation into vulnerable customers' homes in areas of the network that help support our network as well. So it's a win-win, driving down customer bills by 15% and delivering support to the network. In addition, we also have other projects ongoing, such as our Community DSO Flagship Innovation Project, which is a really large programme looking at how we make smart local energy systems work within local communities to maximise the benefits that customers can earn from low-carbon technologies and get them uptake in their homes quicker. The first of those trials is based in Barnsley with social housing tenants alongside private tenants, and we have 7 other trial locations across our patch. Neighbourhood by neighbourhood, we can make the system smarter, fairer and more resilient. In the north, progress is always built the same way, through practical collaboration and shared commitment. No one should be left behind, and cleaner must be fairer. With partners like National Energy Action and our other partners in the room, we'll deliver a transition that's built with people, for people, and for the places that we all live in, with people that they trust. By coming together, we can ensure that the transition is fair from the very start. Thank you, and I'll pass over to the rest of the session. Thanks.
Made it this far. Congratulations. I do have one thing to add to the morning's coat gate discussion. I understand there is another coat that's missing. It's a black Dickies branded coat. Quite important to find it, as I understand there is a purse in the pocket. So if anyone has inadvertently taken it home, it will only be anybody that managed to make it to Rusty's last night. So on with the session. So I'm Danni Barnes, I'm Deputy Chief Executive at National Energy Action, and this session is very much intended to be quite conversational, so we will have Slido running as we go through the panel session, and we're going to do a bit of Q&A with the people that I'm joined with, who I'll introduce in a moment. It's hopefully going to create a bit of space just to reflect on everything that we've heard. You've had a lot of information given to you over the course of the last couple of days, a lot of presentations. So we want to take a bit of a moment during this session to pause, think about what we've heard, and think about how we turn some of the intention that we focused on throughout the last couple of days into a reality for the people that we're all here to support. I'm really delighted to share the stage with Kat Divers from National Support Network, Helena Russell from the Warm Welcome campaign, and Steve Brogden from OVO Energy. We're really delighted to partner with all 3 of our panel speakers, so really looking forward to hearing more from each of them, and from a very different sector perspective as well. As I say, I want it to be very much a collective conversation, so maybe when we start to get to the Q&A, maybe lift up the lights so I can see all of your faces, and if you want to pop hands up, then do feel free. When we do use Slido, I think it automatically defaults to anonymous, so if you want to attribute your name to it, please do add your name and your role as well. So before we launch into kind of general questions, would it be possible to ask each of you to say a little bit about your organisation and what you do to support clients who might be struggling?
Sure.
Start with you, Kat.
Yep. I'm Kat. I'm the founder and CEO of National Support Network, and what we do is we help companies to connect customers who need additional support to trusted helplines, support groups or other vital services that exist. We do that by building websites that contain a National Support Services directory, which has information on thousands of these resources for any life problem. And what it means for the clients that we work with is that they can promote and add information on their own support services or other external partnerships on that one platform and create this one-stop shop. Don't really like that term, but that is in essence what it is, building customizable one-stop shops that also enable the insights on the back end to understand what problems are our customers facing and who are they going to for help. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kat. Over to you, Helena.
I'm Helena. I'm from the Warm Welcome campaign, and Warm Welcome is a network of community spaces, of warm spaces, and we launched as a response to the cost of living crisis to ensure that everyone had somewhere warm and somewhere safe to go. And the thinking behind it was that if people are stuck indoors and can't afford to heat their homes, why don't we open up existing community spaces and connect those? Organisations all over the country and all over the UK open their doors, everything from libraries to pubs and faith groups, churches and community hubs all very different, but all united in that same belief that everyone deserves a warm welcome. We now have more than 6,000 warm welcome spaces across the UK, but our aim is to grow that to ensure that everyone has a warm welcome space nearby if they need to. And my role is to help grow that network, but also add value to the spaces and help them in their work so that they can support local communities better.
Fabulous. Thanks, Helena. Over to you, Steve.
I nearly said morning, but it's not, is it? It's
Not
afternoon.
quite,
So
no,
I've
but your
got the
morning.
rusty, croaky voice, everybody. So, Steve Brogden, Vulnerability Support Manager at OVO. Probably know quite a lot of you in the room, because I've been in the energy industry for about 400 years now, if I don't look it. Basically working with OVO, leading on our vulnerability strategy to support vulnerable customers, customers in fuel poverty and cold, damp homes. A lot of our focus of late has been working with partners, certainly with our OVO in the Community project, where we're getting out there at ground level, basically to meet our customers face to face, to reach out to people that probably wouldn't contact us and let them know about the support that's available. Also doing a lot of work off a research project that we did with Green Alliance on our social tariff alliance. Probably talk about that a little bit later, but if you want to chat to myself afterwards, or Matt from NEA, or Millie from our public affairs guys, we can chat about that. But basically, it's just to try and rally around, really, to force government, that's probably the wrong word, isn't it? But try and force government to think about a social tariff to try and fix a lot of the problems that we've been talking over the last few days.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, all of you. That was a fantastic introduction. And as I say, we're really pleased to be working with all three of you to kind of support those initiatives. We asked before the conference all delegates that are attending what they felt needed to be the priority across the sectors over the next 12 months. Perhaps unsurprisingly, reducing energy costs and improving energy efficiency came out as the most voted for response, with debt and lobbying for positive changes in policy and supporting clients through the transition to net zero coming through also similarly strongly. Do you have any comments about some of those priorities? Do you think there's anything missing in those priority areas, or anything more that you feel like you would add to those priorities?
I think that's hitting the nail on the head, isn't it? It's really about the affordability and efficiency of energy as the key priorities. With the companies that we work with in the space, like OVO and Octopus, Caden, yourselves at Warm Welcome and at NEA, what we also hear and what we know is that very often energy issues don't happen in isolation. And so when you're speaking with someone, there's all this, Helen, our stand downstairs, uses this word constellation, and it's almost like this beautifully tragic, when you look up in the sky and there's just so much, there's so many different issues potentially that someone's facing. And so what I think is, it's incredible to hear the work of so many people in this sector, and one thing that I'm really passionate about is making sure that there's no closed door, so that while of course the focus is on energy, there's that wider person support. We work with OVO, with you on that as well when you're in the local community, so wherever people are, let's make sure that there's that open door to help.
I think it was Ian that said in one of the opening sessions, the clients that we work with are often the hardest to support because they've got such complex situations, and it's often very multifaceted. So having that ability to kind of direct people really easily and more efficiently is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Do you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, I think from a community point of view, I mean, people are less likely to reach out if they don't feel safe, and the system and the processes can be really intimidating, I suppose. As with the best intention, they are not, but they become complicated and overwhelming and intimidating and confusing. So I think it was Adam who said we need to start with with the people and start taking the services to the people and starting with the communities and bringing the support and the guidance into community spaces where people feel safe, where people feel that they belong and can have that one-to-one interaction and support.
Go on, Steve.
Yeah, and I've been kind of reflecting this morning just over the last couple of days and stuff, and one of the words that really rings out from all the sessions yesterday and the sessions this morning is trust. And certainly from an energy supplier's perspective, customers don't trust us. There's a lot of flack from the media in regards to, I'm not saying we do everything right, we don't. But we got a lot of bad press, but we don't get good press for the good things that we do. Which is why the community sort of partnerships and working with these guys and a lot of you guys in the room is we need to engage with you so you can reach out to customers to let them know about that support that's available. Not just from a supplier's perspective as well, but again from the sessions that we've talked about, there's trust in the sharing of data, there's trust in energy smart technology, smart meters, suppliers, as I said, and also in regards to green tech and net zero and retrofit projects. And I think what we need to do is get down to the grassroots and reach out to these people that need that support, because unless you fix the issues that they've got going in, be it from fuel poverty and other financial situations that they're in hardship, they're not going to be interested in smart technology, in green technology. We need to fix the issues that are sort of bothering them day to day, and then we can build that trust and sort of move on then and engage with them further to, you know, improve their lives, really.
Fantastic.
Sorry, Danni, can I just add to that?
Of course you can.
I mean, I'm quite new to this sector. I came in the same time as the Minister, actually, in September. And I've been really bowled over by the accountability and responsibility in this room. That people are really want to do the right thing, and without that, we're not going to go anywhere. So I think we are in a very good place to move forward from here, because everyone wants to do the right thing. And I think it starts with that. And as Tina said in the previous session, if there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely. Now's your chance to get involved. I'd really open this up both to the panel, but also everybody in the room. What's one idea, insight, or moment in time from the conference that's really stood out for you? What are you going to take away from this conference? So really encourage you to get involved in the room, and I'll move on to answers in a moment. But can I ask that question of the panel as well?
Sure. I was chatting with Steve, the other Steve at Oval yesterday, and he was saying, you know, it's not one single person that can help solve this problem. It's a proper collaboration effort. And like Helena said as well, you know, we work across different sectors, including finance and education, local authorities and housing. And I think what surprised me learning more about all the work that's been done in the energy sector is it's incredible, that the amount of schemes and initiatives, support that's out there. And yeah, that's really just what's kind of blown me away from all the conversations that I'm having as well. You know, the clients in the space that we work with, they've already got partnerships with all these other agencies or organisations on the ground doing great things. So it's just really exciting to be part of that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of takeaways, I think, but I think the session yesterday about children and young people, it really hits home. I do spend a lot of time out in warm welcome spaces talking to people on the ground, as it were. And it's very humbling when you have these conversations with parents, for instance, who are there with their children, and they're there to complete their homework because it's too cold at home to do it. And that's a reality check, and I felt the session yesterday really brought that home. And it is important to remember, we talk about these numbers, more than 30% of children in the UK live in child poverty, but in reality that's 10 children in every classroom across the whole of the UK who live in poverty and are then also at risk of experiencing fuel poverty.
I guess for me, and again, I won't resonate about how old I am and how long I've been in the industry, but what's come across a lot is the goalposts keep moving, and I'm not disrespecting any of the work we've done, because we've all done an awesome amount of work in the past, 10 years or so. We've fixed a lot of problems, but I think we can't rest on our laurels, because we've heard a lot of the conversations that were going on yesterday that, people's lives are getting more in crisis. We've had the energy crisis, we've had the cost of living crisis, and that need is getting greater and greater, and so we fix a lot of problems, but we've got a hell of a mountain to climb, but small steps, and we can do it together.
Absolutely. Some of you may have noticed me looking at my phone. I've realised my eyesight is not as good as it used to because I cannot see the responses on there. So I wasn't texting. There's a couple of people that have commented, and do feel free to put your hands up if you'd like to have your say in person. Please put your hands up and we'll get mics to you. I agree with somebody's commented about the racialised element of child poverty. Last year we shone a light on some of our marginalised communities' work, and we really absolutely recognise that this is not felt evenly. It's difficult across the board, but it is absolutely not felt evenly across different communities, and it's really important. I think I felt the same from that session yesterday. We got to make sure that we talk about it head on. We bring those people and those voices to the fore when we're talking about fuel poverty. Did anybody want to get involved, or are you all too tired? I won't force you, but if anybody had anything to say. The other one from the comments that's come in that actually I'll start to talk about in the closing comments as well is around we mustn't let perfection get in the way of progress, and couldn't agree more. We know that we're still waiting on a lot of detail around the policies that we've talked about over the last couple of days, but we can't allow inertia to kind of set in just while we wait for the details, and I know Ross talked a little about that in the previous session too. So what's resonated most, or what person or group of people are you most thinking about as we leave this conference?
As in,
so what sort of
community?
Yeah. What's landed most, or what's been the most impactful for yourselves? Let's start from the other end, actually.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I started with you each time.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Actually, I think it's in terms of resonating. I didn't grow up with a lot in things, and actually, it's from lived experience, I think, that powers a lot of what we do. I struggled to find support for myself many years ago and decided I'm going to make it really easy for people to find help, because that moment is so precious when someone's actually reaching out or ready to engage with looking for help. And one of the things that we recognise quite early on is that there's often a lot of different problems happening at the one point in time, which is why, against advice saying just stick to mental health or just stick to this particular topic, we went, no, we want to cover all life problems because everything's interrelated. So I really am very thoughtful in thinking about the user of our services and how people connect with support as the primary group. And then in addition, the kind of secondary group that we work with very closely in training is the frontline advisors who are there, and it could be in the communities, it could be on the phones, who are speaking with customers. And we talk about this concept of compassion fatigue and how there's so much that they hear and there's a big load on their shoulders, and it's quite hard for them to know what to do. And it's one thing to talk about empathy, but really it's empathy without action is going to cause that compassion fatigue. So I think the more that I think that it's very encouraging, the conversations that we're having around people who are realising that it's not just the right thing for the customer or the person that's in need, but also for the teams internally, that they have the right tools and resources to really lean on when they need to support other people.
Absolutely. Over Steve, should I go to you?
Yeah. I think what's come across with a lot of the sessions is, we understand about fuel poverty and cold, damp homes, but people's lives are so complex, and there's no one-size-fits-all. You can't sort of focus on the elderly or people with disabilities and stuff. You've got to encompass everybody to make sure that, we're not talking about vulnerability, we're talking about people that have needs. But I won't obviously deny the child poverty session yesterday was very emotive, and I guess you kind of push that to the background where you don't sort of realise that the impacts that this is having on people in regards to that, why a child should be worrying about debt and thinking about those sort of things when they should be enjoying life and playing. That's quite sad. And what's resonated again, thinking about how things have evolved over the years, that, you know, food banks weren't the norm, now they are. Warm spaces weren't the norm, now they are. And the conversations we had yesterday about debt banks, again, this shouldn't be a society that we live in. We need to sort of fix this, where these sort of organisations, great work that you do, don't get me wrong, but why is that the norm? And collectively, our voices can change that. We really can make a difference. And as Adam said in his opening speech, you know, unless we shout about it and we keep fighting, then things aren't going to change.
Helena?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to single out one specific group because, as Steve's saying, I think we just got to make sure that we understand the needs of anyone who is experiencing any kind of hardship. I think that's the key, really, and bring the momentum of the empathy and the compassion that has been so evident in the last 2 days. And that I think also is very evident in community spaces. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and there's an issue with social cohesion, but actually, if you go into community spaces, it's like that doesn't exist, and that is wonderful, and I think that's something to capitalise on as well, and that sense of belonging and support.
Absolutely, thank you. I'll move on to the Slido question in a moment. I just had one other question around, we've talked a lot around the intention and the ambition and where we want to get to, and that sort of idealistic sort of hope for where we're going to be in a few years' time. But in the current situation, where do you see that intention and the lived experience currently diverge in your experience? Can I start from maybe Helena, if that's possible?
Yeah, I feel like perhaps there has been a gap between sort of policy and delivery. And I mean, I don't have any kind of gold vision or whatever you say, but I do feel that we need to rein it back and go back to a more simpler model, perhaps, where we are thinking about local communities, and that's where we meet people and bringing the support to the people. I think it is as simple as that, really, thinking about the place-based networks and the support that we can provide there, and also working together across industries, across sectors, across groups to try and reach those who need the help and support the most.
Yeah, and I kind of second what Helena said there and what Kat said previously, that, you know, we've seen it with the Over in the Community project that we've been doing over the last couple of years, and back in, what month are we now? January. We did 8 sessions or 8 community events in a week. It was bloody hard work, don't get me wrong, but you've got to get out there to the community and see the problems they're facing. You don't feel that on the phone. A lot of the people that we're sort of reaching out to probably won't pick up the phone. We got to the point where we were kind of standing on the street and literally dragging people in, because the people are proud, and a lot of people don't realise the support's there or don't want to reach out for support. So if we can get there in a holistic approach, like we do in the Warm Welcome Spaces and working with Kat and a lot of you guys, it's just spreading that word about all that help and support that is available, because a lot of people don't realise. I mean, you know, 30 odd years in the energy sector, people still do not know what private services register is. So it's how do we get those messages across that resonate with people and that people understand. I mean, let's face it, energy isn't sexy, is it? It's not the most exciting thing to be talking about, but it's a need that everybody's got to have. So it's how we ignite that passion in people about it.
I'm sure everyone in this room would say energy was sexy. So on to the next question. It's around what one change in policy, practice or partnerships do you think would make the biggest difference to people struggling to keep warm and safe and healthy in their homes? Do you have any thoughts, anybody on that? I've got a few comments. Does anybody want to get involved, or are we still shying away from putting our hands up? surely. There's been lots of comments in this. I could just pick a comment and hope that I find out.
I mean, I can jump in if you want.
Go on,
anyway,
you go, and then I might
talk about social tariff. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, brilliant news that one-month discount is going to continue for 5 years, because that is a big help to a lot of people. Whether the amounts are right, I don't know. You know, it's been about £150 for quite some time. However, I think, you know, there needs to be a fundamental change in the energy industry in regards to looking at people that is going to help them, and that is a social tariff. And I think we've been talking about it a lot over past conferences, and yeah, it's just something that we need to push the government around about. What, you know, with the report that we commissioned, we looked at different areas about how is it funded, who it should hit, blah, 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 blah. And that is a paper for the government to sort of look at and consider. And, you know, we all want it, so we need to drive it forward. Yeah. And without shouting about it, it's never going to happen.
I think earlier when you were talking about, you know, hitting the nail on the head with the cost of energy and the consumption and efficiency, I think that's right. Like, I've seen that some of the comments come through and that, and it's around the prices. It is ultimately, if we had a lower energy cost, people would be able to heat and use their homes, and there's maybe some other considerations around that, but I think that's the core of it. And I find it quite frustrating as a founder when people talk about problems and they're not solved. And I think that it's such a complex problem when you start to uncover it and unwind it, which is why, you know, the policy and campaigning work is so important to try and instigate change, because there's probably not very much that individuals or teams or companies can do by themselves. There's a lot of complicated factors behind it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Anything else to add, Helena?
No, I think I agree. I think the partnership, working and collaboration is going to be one of the biggest things moving forward, that we continue to work together. We can't do everything on our own, but together actually we can create synergy and achieve this together.
Fantastic. Just pulling out a couple of the comments as everybody seems. Oh, I do have a hand. Fantastic. Can we get a microphone over here? But we've talked a little bit throughout the course of the last few days, and it's been echoed in many of your comments around consistency and the help available to avoid that postcode lottery. I really like this comment around it's not necessarily about change, because actually there are lots of initiatives that are doing great work. I've always talked quite openly about my love-hate relationship with the term innovation. I think it's absolutely critical to have innovation to drive continuous improvement. But then sometimes when you're doing really, really good stuff, you just want to continue to do more of that good stuff in more places, and to then always be asked to innovate and make it seem different just to fit in with funding constraints can be really challenging. So it's almost like you do definitely need both. I'm not saying that there's definitely a love-hate relationship, but I can wholeheartedly agree with that comment. Go on, we've got a question over here, and then I've got a couple of comments here.
So aside from making sure that everybody that didn't watch it sees Guy Martin's show on Channel 4 about retrofitting a 1920s Stretford house, which was great, on Monday night on Channel 4. One thing that hasn't cropped up, and I mean, unless I've missed it, which is perilously predictable, is the disparity in the cost between electric and gas. Obviously is something that comes up a lot. But also is within that disparity in the cost is the fact that there's a sort of a levy for eco-funding within the electric bill, which doesn't exist in gas, which is constantly ruminated about being reshared in order to make the cost of gas and electric more stable and, well, more equal. And I just wonder what's going on with that?
Do you want to come in, Steve?
That's probably way over my head, but I think a lot of the levies and similarly around one-month discount is put onto electricity because everybody has got electricity, whereas not everybody has got gas, and so that's why it's hitting everybody. So everybody's paying a fair share. I probably won't get myself down the rabbit hole in regards to that, if I'm honest, because it's not my area of expertise.
Yeah. Matt, did you want to come in on that at all, just before I try and butcher the answer? There we go. I'm honest with my skill set.
I'm the same, Danni.
Not not sure Andre should be passing me the microphone on this one. Well, the eco levy in particular, the good news there is on the cost side at least is that that's being taken off of bills entirely from April. There's obviously some very negative news about that with a significant reduction in funding for energy efficiency as a result of that, because it's not like they're providing that funding directly elsewhere, albeit we have a £15 billion warm homes plan, but it doesn't completely replace it. But more broadly, thinking about tariffs, it is fairly regressive. Well, it is regressive. Lots of different things funded through levies, particularly on electricity bills. There is lots of discussion about what to do with those levies, whether you move on to gas or to general taxation. I think it's really hard to move those levies onto gas. You might want to do it to make heat pumps cheaper to run, but you will make heating more expensive for millions of fuel-poor households as a result who don't have the agency to get a heat pump like that. So it's very, very difficult decisions from that. I'm really, really buoyed by the fact that the government did take the initiative and move the renewables obligation, which pays for legacy wind farms as well as eco, off renewables obligation into general taxation, and that's created a bit of a precedent to do more, and hopefully Treasury can take the mantle and do a bit more to fund things more equitably in the future.
That's exactly what I would have said. So quite a few people have also...
What he said.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got one more.
Oh, fabulous. Go on. Oh, you're warming up now, thank you.
Hello, it's just in relation to the social tariff, which I think is a really good idea, and obviously going to government and lobbying them regarding this. However, it takes time, and obviously action needs to happen now. So what stops just one supplier sort of breaking free and having a social tariff for those most in need?
I think that's targeted at you, Steve.
Yeah, and again, it's government policy in regards to the amount of tariffs that you can have on the market. Again, that's not my level of expertise in regards to the tariff side of things, but I think I think from an Ofgem regulation perspective, I don't think we'd be able to do that. What we will, oh sorry.
Yeah. You've got a mat in Millie.
Millie.
Is this on? So yeah, it's a really, really good question, and it would be lovely. Basically, the way that a lot of retailers are set up, because of the price cap, they're just not making enough money to do a social tariff in some ways. I think to do it properly and that consistency point as well, it does need to be across the whole industry. I know there's social tariffs in other utilities, and there's kind of varying levels of success, but I think energy is already so complex. To then add another layer of complexity into that and sort of say this company is offering a social tariff, this is a targeted discount, and kind of all those extra words, it just becomes another barrier for people, I think. So yeah, we'll definitely keep pushing for it as a universal thing, and I think kind of having those immediate remedies like over in the community, and I know the other suppliers do a lot of big initiatives in a really similar way. So I think having the combination of the two while we're pushing very, very hard for a social tariff is important.
Do you want to talk a bit about the Alliance, Millie?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
What she said.
we're a double act. Yeah, so Matt and I set up the Social Tariff Alliance basically to bring together probably most of the organisations in this room. We felt that progress had stalled on the social tariff conversation. There was some really, really positive things in the budget and obviously the warm homes discount, and I think that's what that's proven, is that there is an open door that we can push, and we are going to push against it, and they will move stuff into general taxation if the pressure is there. We know the cost of living is at the top of the government's agenda, and if the pressure is there both from industry and charities, and we're coming together, which often doesn't happen, I think that's a really powerful voice. So yeah, please do come and join us if you'd be interested.
Fantastic. Thanks, Millie. I wonder if the person that's made this comment is willing to put their hand up as well, but if not, there's a comment around plugging the gap in support for people around low carbon heating, so including the how to use it, servicing, the expensive end of life replacement costs. Who put that in? Are you willing to come forward? Well. Fabulous. So I think it's a really, really good question, and feel free to kind of come in and chat.
So I've got somebody that's responding to what you've just said, but then somebody's hand is up already. So I'll do the response first and then go back.
Good job, Danielle.
Hi, Joanna from 361 Energy. Yeah, I just raised that point because we do have difficulty finding servicing for heat pumps. When people take over houses or buy houses that have heat pumps, they have no idea how to control the settings. And last week I had somebody whose heat pump has been in place for about 10 years and now needs replacing, and they bought the house with the heat pump already there, and they don't have 15 grand to get a replacement, and there's no scheme anywhere that will help them with that. So the situation you face when your heating system ultimately gets to the end of its life with a heat pump is really quite extreme compared to a gas boiler, and I don't think that that's in any plans anywhere as to how to address that, which some people are already facing.
Yeah, I think this gets to the nub of some of the gritty issues around the transition and some of the challenges that we're going to face. We obviously recognise that also the behaviours required of an individual are fundamentally different to how you run a gas heating system, and that is in itself a real education piece, an understanding piece, and recognising that not everybody is going to be as in the loop as we are in this room. That we've got to take them on a journey. That we need to sort of have that kind of network of support, and it talks to a lot of the things that's come out previously around that aftercare, that network of support, and thinking through what the long-term plan is through supporting consumers with that transition. Did anybody else have any comments on low carbon specifically?
Sorry,
is this in response to the low carbon
It was
one?
about the social tariffs.
Oh, go back one then. You go. There we go.
I don't know if I got confused there, but sounded like we were talking about it as if this would be a new thing. But we have had social tariffs. Yeah. With EDF had a social tariff at one point.
Yeah.
It was only when the price hike came that they stopped all the social tariffs.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why we can't just reinstate those.
I think we've sort of touched on the sort of framework, the regulatory framework that sits around it, but I think that there's big drive to try to push for a social tariff in the future to help support those clients for whom the current costs are just fundamentally too high.
So I'm just feeling if it's been there before, I don't understand why it can't be brought back. I mean, it's not as if our stakeholders, these big 6 companies, are struggling at the moment, is it?
Thank you. Did you want to come back in on anyone want to come back in on the low carbon point and that transition and behaviour change piece?
Yeah, and I think I kind of covered it briefly anyway in respect to a lot of the people that we're kind of supporting anyway aren't kind of on that journey, but certainly with consumers that are on that journey then that have got low carbon technology, then yeah, absolutely. We need to, it's not just a case of supporting those that are on boarding, but how we can support those people that have taken that technology on board already. And yeah, how we do it, I don't know, I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, I think as well that one of the key elements of the conference is about building trust with people. Yep. And if you're pushing these new technologies and people and eco solutions, and then they get to the end of the lifespan, and then I didn't know this, I'm not an expert in the energy sector, but to be faced with that £15,000 pound bill to replace, like that would just immediately break trust in any sort of eco initiative. If that was me personally. So. Yeah, I absolutely agree that there should be something in place. I don't know whose responsibility that is or should be, but, I
think we take the minister at his word earlier when he said keep challenging, keep driving for better. So I think that's a collective action point there, that where we know that things are not quite thought through yet, or we know they're going to be challenging for our client cohort, we really need to keep pushing for what we need to see in place. One more question in the audience, if that's okay, and then I think we're almost at wrap-up point, if that's okay.
It's not a question, it's just a thought that popped into my head. So what can we do structurally, and this is kind of thinking about fuel poverty and linking it to building financial resilience and linking to it's going to cost you 15 grand in 10 years' time to replace your heat pump. If people are saving money on their energy bills, can we encourage them to save some of that money in a bank account, in a savings account, so that when they get to that point, they've got 15 grand sat there waiting, plus interest, over 10 years or whatever. And if that supports and encourages people to use local credit unions, to just start saving in general, then that can only be a good thing.
I guess there's one question about whether it will still cost £15,000
Well,
in 10
yes,
years' time
but
if we
you know,
see scale by
it's
that
just
point.
like the government isn't going to be able to pay on top of all the new heat pumps replacing all the old ones. So we do need to think more broadly than just about, oh, well, we need another grant scheme for that.
Yeah. The challenge, obviously, at the moment is the negative budgets that we see in practice and the finances. But I agree.
But for those people that can, you know.
For the able to pay, I think that's absolutely.
Well, and also if people are saving enough, get out of a negative budget. I just think promoting saving behaviours is a really positive financial resilience thing that will support fuel poverty in many different ways.
Fantastic, thank
you.
you.
And I think on that as well, a lot of the work that a lot of organisations that are here today do is to sort of look at, okay, it is building that financial resilience, it's getting people out of that black hole or that crisis that they're in, and again, not just sticking plaster, how they can move forward and to start, you know, building that financial resilience and get themselves on a better footing, really.
Yeah. Can I ask you all one final question? Yeah. And it's, what one thing are you going to do differently or go back and put in place as a result of Joy ever attending today?
We've had a couple of organisations come around our stand to be added into the National Services Directory, so we're making that happen. I've had lots of conversations with organisations that are interested in our services, and we'll follow up with that. But I think ultimately one element, we signpost to national support services, and it's really opened my eyes to the amount of local support that there is available. And so we want to start to map local support services all across the UK and bring that into our directory. So I'm going to go back and figure out how to make that happen.
Brilliant.
Yeah, similarly, I mean, speaking to lots of wonderful organisations over the last couple of days, so really picking up on that and seeing where we can collaborate and partner and work together to support local communities better across the board, both with financial resilience, but energy advice and so on, because as we sort of know and have recognised, the picture for vulnerable groups is so complex, and it's not about one need, it's about so many different needs. And again, by pulling together and meeting each other, that's when we can kind of address all of those needs. So yeah, I will be working away towards that.
Fantastic. Go on, Steve.
And yeah, from my perspective, talked a lot about over in the community, but a lot of the presentations and people that have come to chat to us over the last few days is how we evolve that. Yep, we've done the energy advice and stuff, but now it's to start thinking about building that financial resilience, be it from partners, but also start to think about how we get partners involved to come along to local events, talk about retrofit, and to start driving, since the Warm Home Plans come out now, how we reach out to those customers that are going to benefit from those grants that are available.
Do you want to touch a bit on some of the additional support through the Lightning Reach portal as well, actually, because that's probably a helpful avenue through.
Wave to Lightning Reach. So, yeah, and again, this is why collaboration is so important. So, from our perspective in our extra support package, which runs all the time, so for our customers, to offer them quick fixes, but also to look at more enduring support. We've evolved our application form in regards to that, making it easier for diverse people to sort of access that, but also that links into Lightning Reach. So anybody that goes through our extra support package will get a Lightning Reach profile. And again, I think we heard conversations about it yesterday around that will also access additional support that people can get based on their particular circumstances. And similarly, working with CAT in National Support Network, we do have CAT's details on our website. So again, that's offering people additional support that isn't just energy. So it's all about a more holistic approach about how we support people going forward.
Fantastic. And that collaboration is, I think, so fundamental to how we're going to achieve any of the aspirations over the coming years. So as we sort of wrap up, I just wanted to firstly say thank you to all my panel speakers, and thank you all for getting involved. I appreciate it is almost at the finish line, and it can feel quite tough having so much information sort of thrown at you over so many days. But hopefully you've all found it incredibly valuable. I certainly have. I always leave our annual conference with sort of a renewed sense of purpose and drive to kind of make change and kind of get more help to the people people that need it most. Appreciate sometimes that can feel really challenging, the numbers are big, but I think collectively, I think something that I've certainly felt today is that we really absolutely can achieve that change, and it's really important that even if it's a small thing or a big thing, as long as we're all doing something, we're kind of all moving in the right direction. We've talked a lot about strategies and policies, health-connected work, place-based delivery, but I think what's come through most strongly and quite rightly is the impact someone's home has on how they experience day-to-day. The place that they call home, and if that's damp and cold, how that impacts them both now and long-term. So we've also talked a lot about how intent matters. We've got opportunity ahead of us, but we've also got to be honest about some of the gaps and really, really push for movement in the detail. The devil is absolutely in the detail of what comes next for those policies. Hopefully, you've all built some collaborative opportunities through the course of the last few days. We want to close the gap between national policy and local lived experience so that we can just make sure that what we design at that national level really truly works at local level. We know that policy is great, but people don't experience policy, they experience the outcomes that that policy drives. So I really, really encourage you to keep those conversations going when you leave this room. If there's anybody you haven't had a chance to connect with, I realised today that I saw people today that have been here for the last 2 days and I hadn't seen them over the last 2 days. So if there's anybody on the delegate list that you were really hoping to connect with and you didn't get an opportunity to, do get in touch or just directly contact people and have follow-up conversations following on from this conference. I'm hopeful. Penny's words at the start really stuck with me from her poem about feeling unloved and forgotten. Let's collectively make sure that less people grow up feeling unloved and forgotten. So thank you, everybody, for your contributions. Thank you.
Oh, don't go yet. Don't go yet. So it's almost the end. Thank you, everyone who's been able to stay for staying. And what we now have our recognition awards for those people who have demonstrated by what they do that they are the beating heart of the mission. And so we're going to have this perfectly choreographed with award winners and recipients and sponsors coming together and gathering to receive their awards. Some people have gone, which means that you all need to compensate for the gaps because these people are deserving of a huge round of applause and love. And I shouldn't say recipients and sponsors because they are both partners and more than that as individuals and organisations. They are friends of NEA and this is a delightful thing to be able to do. So I'm going to read out the award, read out the winner of the award, start your applause and I shall read a citation over the top of it. So we're going to start with the Reaching Out Award, which is the award that celebrates those who reach into the heart of marginalised communities so no one is left without a voice or support. And I am absolutely delighted that the winner of the award is Joanne Abdullah, who's the head of advice at Sheffield Citizens Advice. And it's going to be awarded by Ellie Lowes from eVouchers. There and it goes up. So Joanne has led Sheffield Citizens Advice with unwavering commitment to people with health conditions and those too often overlooked. Her partnerships with GPs, public health teams and local authorities have created clear, compassionate pathways for those most in need. Through Warm Homes Healthy Futures funding, she has expanded support so people with health conditions receive vital guidance and advocacy to stay safe, warm and financially secure. As a deaf leader, Joanne brings lived experience that shapes inclusive services and removes barriers for disabled people. Under her leadership, Sheffield Citizens Advice has become a national example of accessibility, including a one-stop shop offering holistic British Sign Language advice delivered by deaf BSL advisors. Her vision extends to refugees and asylum seekers with no recourse to public funds, securing specialist support at moments of crisis. She is a consistent presence across partnership networks, always advocating for those seldom heard. For her passion, her advocacy and her commitment to marginalised communities, we are very proud to honour her with the award. So the second award, which will be presented by Laura Radcliffe from Northern Gas Networks, is the positive impacts on health, rewarding those who make a life-changing difference to people with physical and mental health conditions. And again, delighted that we're presenting the award to Coral Allen from Ashford Borough Council. And over the past year, Coral has gone far beyond expectation to ensure every referral receives thoughtful, thorough support. Her work combines practical solutions with deep humanity. When a wheelchair user became trapped at home due to an unsafe ramp, she coordinated assessments, secured funding, and restored his independence. When a woman with severe visual impairment struggled in a cold, unsafe flat, Coral brought services together, advocated for safer housing, and took immediate action to improve conditions, restoring dignity and security. A partnership-first approach links council teams, the NHS, DWP, and community groups, ensuring residents receive holistic rather than fragmented help. Again, through National Energy Action's Warm Homes, Healthy Futures programme, she has supported households with grants, fuel poverty advice, hoarding issues, essential items, and income maximisation. Her data-led approach ensures the most vulnerable are prioritised, while her empathy ensures each person feels supported. In 6 months, she triaged 141 residents, personally supporting 114, each one a story of improved well-being. And for her extraordinary commitment, advocacy and impact, we are delighted that Carol receives the award. So the third award is the Innovation in Tackling Fuel Poverty, and this is going to be presented by ex of this parish, Jess Cook, representing Northern Power Grid. The winners of this award, there's two people on behalf of Yes Energy Solutions and on behalf of Lightning Reach, Katie Baker and Dave Farquharson. And we celebrate we celebrate a partnership whose innovation has transformed access to fuel poverty support. In late 2023, Lightning Reach and Yes redesigned a slow, fragmented referral process into a fast, user-led digital pathway. By embedding Yes services into the Lightning Reach platform, people can now apply in minutes, receive immediate triage, and access 2,500 plus support schemes through a single profile. The impact has been profound. Between 2023 and 2025, more than 3,600 people received Tier 1 help, and 1,135 received in-depth assistance. An impressive 97% completed the process independently, demonstrating how accessible the system is. For many, it was the first time they could access support without barriers or delay. The pathway has delivered over £128,000 in direct financial assistance and £167,000 in energy advice, helping households manage crises and reduce long-term energy costs. It is reaching those most affected by fuel poverty, including social renters, unemployed households and families on very low incomes. And behind these numbers, of course, are real stories of stability and relief. Single mother Charlotte received a £500 grant that helped to regain financial footing. Pensioner Anne-Marie received, despite limited digital confidence, successfully accessed support that eased the pressure of rising energy bills. These are just two of the examples of thousands of people whose lives have been improved through this new approach. And so we're delighted that Katie and Dave received the award. And the final award, which is presented by Steve, who you've already seen from OVO, is the Championing Community Resilience Award, and it recognises those who strengthen vulnerable households and build lasting resilience. And particularly delighted that this will go to Luke Arnold, who will receive it on behalf of Hope for You. Thank you. Hope for You has played a vital role in supporting families across Bradford at their most vulnerable. The project works closely with Bradford teaching hospitals to identify families facing financial hardship early, ensuring support before difficulties escalate. Hope for You provides tailored practical help that stabilises households, including securing maternity grants, supplying baby essentials, offering benefit checks, budgeting support and energy efficiency advice. In the past year, it has delivered over 1,000 interventions through the maternity pathway, generating more than £3 million million in financial gains for family, reducing stress, improving well-being at a crucial time in life. The project also strengthens broader community resilience. Nearly 2,000 individuals have received supermarket vouchers, improving food security. Hope for You contributes to tackling fuel poverty and advancing net zero, offering energy advice and exploring home improvements to reduce costs. Through strong partnerships, early intervention and compassionate support, Hope for You has built lasting resilience across Bradford, and we're delighted that you received the award today. So, thank you very much to our friends, both receiving and giving the awards. Be a few minutes, and then we can all go off and pick up our bags of food, which will be available kind of downstairs. Firstly, again, to thank our sponsors, without whom it's just not possible to do these things, especially at this scale. So it's e-vouchers, Northern Gas Network, Northern Power Grid, and OVO. It is impossible to do it. Thank you to everyone who's exhibited and paid attention and engaged with the exhibitors, obviously. Thank you everyone that's been attending over the past few days. I have to say thank you. Lots of people at NEA are responsible for putting these events together, but the burden particularly falls on our communications team. So thanks to Anna, to Nina, to Brian, to Mike, and to Nick for making this event run as smoothly as possible. I should also say thank you to Gateshead and to the Glass House. It's a splendid venue. It's an iconic venue. It is also, of course, a warm, welcome space itself, and has been for many years, enabling people to come in and have a cup of tea in the warm, because sometimes it can get cold and wet in Gateshead. So just before we go, I'm not going to sum it up. I would actually ask the hashtag FuelPovTConf, that's what it is, isn't it, Anna? I mean, please do it for two reasons. One, because it's good for us that people see the value of these things, but it actually produces a bit of a record of people saying, that's what I got out of it, this is what we heard, and it's quite good to have that circulating in the ether, in the cloud, so we can draw upon it. So please do that. I'm not going to sum up the conference because there's too much to do, but there was one thought, and it got reference again in Danni's session just then. It felt like we've been waiting for this policy framework to emerge, and when it arrived, pretty much we knew what it was going to say in advance. Well, we didn't wait, we didn't stop. We didn't stop doing what we were doing. We waited for a bit of clarity. A Warm Homes plan has to be more than a set of distinct schemes. It's got to be more than a set of funding mechanisms. The only way it becomes more is if we collectively and individually in our sectors and our local areas make sure it's more. When we talk to the combined authorities and local authorities and housing associations and people who are going to be delivering this stuff, they need to make the connection, especially with people with young children in cold, damp homes, with people with health conditions, to people who are marginalised from, find it difficult to access services, people who are scared of getting services. And that's on us to make sure our services are empathetic and welcoming and accessible to people. So we didn't stop, but we were waiting for the clarity, but it was never going to give us the clarity that we needed, because it's our responsibility to build that clarity into the plan, into the strategy, into the approach, into the mission, not just into what the individual discrete funding streams look like. Colleagues at NEA will hate me saying this again, because it's a tired quote that I draw upon a huge amount, and it's because across the river towards the west in Summerhill Grove, Frederick Douglass, the great American emancipator, former slave, lived with a group of Quakers. And he said one thing which is so appropriate to us, and we should take this away, as well as Penny's comments about having a voice. Douglass said one thing, and most American school kids are taught this in their school days. You might not get everything you fight for, but you have to fight for everything that you do get. And that's our role now is to make sure that we backfill the Warm Homes plan. So it's a plan that's worth the name of a warm home. It's a plan that we can feel confident in delivering, and it's a plan that will lead to better lives for people living in cold and damp homes. Thank you ever so much for coming. The food is available in bags to take away. We've got the space until about 2:30 if you want us to hang around and network. It's been lovely spending the last few days with you, and Godspeed on your journeys home. Thank you.